Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Live Natural, Live Well. I almost said .com since I just started my new website. Sorry, listeners. This is your host, Heather Lounsbury. Thank you so much for joining me today. My guest in just a moment is Heather Mills. She is what I like to call a vegan superhero. She has done so much for animals and has really advocated a plant-based diet through her restaurant and food lines, and I'm really excited to have her on today. So if you have any food-related questions for Heather, or if you want to call in and ask her about the charities she's involved with and her activism, definitely take this opportunity to do so. That number is 347-884-9533. That's 347-884-9533. And before I bring her on, I just want to say, for those of you who aren't already eating a plant-based diet, this is not to proselytize, but maybe to help open up your mind a little bit to the alternatives that are out there, and at least cut back on your animal product intake. I would love for everyone to do that for the planet's sake and the animals' sake. So maybe you'll get some ideas today of how you can do things differently. And for those of you who would like some support on that, I can definitely help you with that. I do offer nutritional counseling. Even if you don't live in LA, I can do phone consults, and my office number for that is 310-259-5165. That's 310-259-5165. So if you are already doing it and not sure if you're doing it correctly, or are curious about eating healthier, I can definitely help you and support you in that and put you in the right direction. So now Heather isn't calling in again. I know this happened a few weeks ago, so why don't I play some music and try to find out where she is. I just got a confirmation from her assistant that she would be calling about 3 minutes ago, so hopefully it's going to work out today. Sorry to put you on hold, and I'll be right back. So, listeners, I am back. I think Heather's on the line now, so let me go ahead and bring her on.
Hey, morning, Heather, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good evening in England. It's good evening for us.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Busy day, but really good.
Do you have a cold? You sound a little crackly.
No, just exhausted. We've been working crazy on the cooking tour and collecting limbs for Haiti and the million projects that we do, so we haven't slept a lot in the last 7 days.
I hope you're taking good care of yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Just tired, but perfectly fine.
Okay, good. I'm sure everyone listening knows who you are, but if you want to, just in case, let my listeners know who you are and how you got involved in the vegan movement.
My name's Heather Mills, obviously, and I got in the vegan movement purely initially because of health, nothing to do with animals or ethical reasons or the planet, because I had no idea 17 years ago when I first learned about veganism. It was a matter of life and death, and I was willing to try anything. I was working in the front line in the war in the former Yugoslavia, and came back to England to do some work. Crossed the street in a police motorcycle, chopped my leg off, crushed my pelvis and punctured my lung, split my head open, and then I was told my sister actually told me later that she was told 4 times I was going to die, and I didn't, luckily, obviously, and I kept having my leg amputated more and more due to infection, and then my girlfriend walked in and she said, "You've got to get out of this hospital. I've cured myself of breast cancer, and you've got to stop eating meat, fish and dairy, and you can completely heal yourself." Well, I was a full-on fish, dairy, carnivore young woman, and I thought she was nuts. But I was willing to try anything because I didn't want to lose my leg above the knee. So I went off to a place called Hippocrates in West Palm Beach in Florida 17 years ago and learned everything about wheatgrass juice, garlic poultices, vegetable juices, all that kind of stuff. And 2 weeks later, my wound completely closed and healed, and came back to England and promoted it on telly. There's an old video on my website from 1994 talking about it. And when I you'll have to have a look at that. Putting wheatgrass on the telly, everybody thought I was pulling out marijuana and looked at me disgustingly, and I tried to explain it was not marijuana, it was wheatgrass, and it was full of chlorophyll, and it had boosted my red blood cells, and it healed me, and you should get off dairy. And you know when you learn something that's really good for you and you want to share it and get everybody to do the same, you don't really know the right way about going about it, so you just can't stop talking about it. It's like, born again, and people don't always want to hear.
Right.
So after many, many, many years, I realized that the only way to convert full-on carnivores was great, tasty vegan food, and that's what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely remember being kind of zealous about it when I first started out 25 years ago, like wanting to convert everyone, and it just pissed off people for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. So I found the simplest way was, it's very easy to do it with people that aren't well because they really will try anything. It's very easy to do it with people that love animals, but for people that aren't understanding of those and absolutely love to eat their meat and were brought up, brainwashed as I was, that meat and dairy was your staple diet and was full of calcium and goodness and all the rubbish that's put out there, and didn't realize how much we were being exploited. And you think it's crazy that someone tells you to give up. My sister was a veggie from a very young age, way before I was, and I used to think she was crazy. I said, "Where'd you get your protein?" All the stupid things that I said to you, but I used to say them all. I used to say that to my sister, you're going to die if you don't have your meat and dairy, because since I was a kid, I was told to drink my milk and do this and do that. And then as you evolve and learn more, you realize that it's complete rubbish, and they're huge industries. The meat and dairy industry are richer than the oil industry, and enough wars and problems go on in the world in the oil industry for money, so you can imagine what goes on in the world for meat and dairy. And I just thought, well, I'm just tired of people looking at me like I'm crazy, telling them they should go vegan and do this. I'll just feed them. So I opened my first restaurant called V-Bites in Brighton Hove, England, did a test, and 80% of the people that go there are carnivores, and they're all shocked. We do Mexican, Thai, Italian, vegan pizzas, really raw, healthy food, but also indulgence food. Because in all honesty, I don't really have any concern to feed vegans. It's more the veggies and the carnivores. Try and get the veggies off cheese, and try and get the carnivores to cut back as much as they can and evolve, but still taste great indulgence foods. And then we're going to franchise 75 of those. because they become so popular, which is
incredible.
exciting. Yeah, and then I'll be doing lots of V-bites. Well, we won't be long. It's basically I'm vetting. We've got the opposite problem of, companies like McDonald's and Burger King who have to really go out and find franchisees. We've got like tons and tons of people that want to franchise because so many vegans and veggies are ethical, want to make a difference, but need to be in a brand that's going to help be marketed. But I need to vet them. I need them to understand it's hard work, it's hard graft for the first few years. It's going to, you've really got to have good business sense. You've really got to be at the restaurant the whole time. You've got to be there all the time. So it's no good for them because they won't make a success of it. And it's certainly no good for our brand, for the whole vegan image, if any V-Bites opens and they're not brilliantly run and closed down because they're not well run rather than because of the food. And then the other aspect is I'm trying to keep their overheads low, so I'll do a lot of it that we supply the meals ready-made, and then that side of things can just warm and go, and then they do the raw salad things themselves that anybody can do. It's a really easy side. So once you employ people that are chefs and things, it's really expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to think, I used to think that I wanted to open up a healing center with a restaurant in it, and then I was a chef at some vegetarian restaurants in college, and I realized, I'm like, no, this is way too much work, so it takes incredible dedication.
Exactly. You've got to, exactly. You've got to really be prepared to work and know your personality. If you've got any lazy side to you whatsoever, don't go in the restaurant business. It is a 24/7 business, and once you've got it up and running, if you're an entrepreneur and you do really well, then you can, take a state and set up one, and then get a great team of people, which is the hardest thing, and then you end up, putting V-Bites all over that state. So we've got lots of people like that, and probably 25% of them will pass the test to see, if they can actually do it.
Right,
and,
exactly.
75% of them either won't be able to do it, or they'll come to the meeting and see the work and not want to do it, or it won't be quite right for them. But what I'm trying to do is show that, saving the animals, your health, and being ethical and saving the environment can be great business. And that's what's really important, because at the end of the day, the people that are just money hungry are the people that are going to change the world, sadly. And they're the people we have to convert and educate, but show them they can still do good business, because, everything else is not sustainable, so they have to think ahead.
Yeah. Well, I know that now that green businesses are starting to make money, and like whole and natural products and organic products are starting to make so much money that these companies that would have never had any interest in this or seeing it, like, oh wait, we need to get on board. So it's been slow coming, but I think they're now seeing dollar signs and are going to come on board.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it works in all areas. When I started on the landmine ban treaty 20 years ago, everybody said, oh, you'll never get that through, you'll never this, you'll never that. And I said, well, you need to, make an alternate business for these people that are making these weapons, and not just say this is unethical, this is no good, because they're making millions out of it. So at least until we banned the landmine, which eventually happened in 142 countries over a long period, we were trying to get them to use an inert mine, which at least had a chemical leakage, until we could get the full ban through. So it meant that their sales quadrupled, because wars always go on for longer than 6 months. So it's always trying to think laterally, and how can you solve the problem from every angle and for every person involved in the party, not just thinking about what you need, what you want to achieve. How are we going to make sure everyone's happy here? And it is possible. We've done it in so many areas. I supply all the foods because I have my own factory. So I know that they're ethical and our foods are kosher, and we've won the most ethical food company in Britain for 5 years running now. And against Nestle, we get like 93%, and the group Nestle get 50-odd%. So we're showing companies like that you can have a growth expanse of 34% in the worst, economy environment like we have had at Redwood V-Bites and not harm the planet. Hello, Woofer. My little Woofer's just walked in. My little dog, vegan dog, 16 and a half years. He's a Wheaton Terrier. Hello, sweetie. He was really ill. We thought he was going to die 4 or 5 days ago.
Oh, my God.
And I had to get up every hour and force feed him water. And little miracle dog just suddenly started barking last night and got up. Decided now's not my time.
Oh, that's
so
great.
It's the first time I've been really excited to hear his bark.
I bet. Well, I'm happy he's doing well. My good friend Whitney, who when I met you back in March, I was with her, and she's bringing up her Jack Russell vegan, and people are always making comments, of course, but she's a bundle of energy.
Well, he's a true testament. He's 16 and a bit now, and he's been vegan all his life. So, he's never been ill. Touch wood. He's only cost me $50 in his entire 16 years in a vet's bill, and that was for ticks. So, yeah, he's doing great.
That's a true testament that it works, and I know it's the same for humans. People are always amazed to hear that I haven't called in sick to work. I mean, I'm self-employed now, but I haven't taken a day off from work from being sick in 12, 13 years, and people just don't understand how that's possible.
No, I know, and it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. So much healthier. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same for you. I mean, obviously you helped heal yourself by changing your diet. So what exactly, you mentioned the fifth year running, getting the most ethical business award in the UK, and I'm wondering what does that mean exactly in the UK? What makes you an ethical company? So
it just means, how we run the company, the ingredients we use to make our products. We've got 52 products, the fact that there's no meat, no dairy, it's a nut-free environment, lactose-free. All the products we buy are from ethical sources. We don't do unsustainable palm oil. Just lots and lots of different elements. It's a huge list that they go through, and that's how you get your percentages. So we're 93%, and there's a few in the 70s, but most of them are in the 50s and below. So it's something that we're really, really proud of.
Oh,
and makes, we have the label on the products, and it makes people feel better about themselves that they're doing their bit when they buy something over another company's product that isn't as ethical and environmental.
I'm wondering if the U.S. has something similar to that, because I know this sort of ties into what we were talking about earlier. Now that organic and natural products have become so big, these multinational corporations that I do not like to support have bought these smaller companies out, and I have a hard time giving them my money, but there's not really any alternatives now, and I'm just wondering if the U.S. has something similar to that. Do you know?
Well, I mean, the thing is that most of the huge companies eventually buy the smaller companies, and there are pros and cons about all of that. If the huge company buys the small company and sticks by its standards, and the small company is sensible enough to have a really watertight contract, that basically means that there would be debentures against them, that they could be hugely sued if they did not follow the ethics and everything that the small company had followed and done before. If they can get that, unless they get in a desperate stage and just sell out, basically, then they're more vulnerable. But if they can do that being under a huge company that has the infrastructure and the ability to spread that product and make it bigger, means that it's going to make a bigger difference from a business sense. And that's where I'm really lucky, because I've got a business head, but my whole ethos about environment, ethical, animals, everything goes in with it. And usually you get one or the other. And the people that I've had to train up who are very ethical, which is going to be the same thing with franchisees, don't always have the most business savvy. A lot of the time they do, but a lot of the time they don't. And that's where problems can be created. I have a product at the moment that I've been involved with regarding omega-3s. Most people think omega-3 comes from fish, and of course it doesn't. It comes from the algae the fish eat. But nobody has been able to get that algae, patent it, and get a high EPA out of it. And the DHA, which is, for those that don't know, is a thing called icosapentaenoic acid or docosahexaenoic acid. Now, it's an amazing thing and vital to have your omega-3s for many reasons. I've really found it's helped people have counseled with depression and all sorts, but numerous things. And of course, once the big companies who have always wanted to use the benefits of omega-3s, the pharmaceutical companies, hear about something like that, they want to buy it out immediately. But it's what they're going to use it for that I hold out, because they'll want to put it in animal feed, and I just would never want that to happen, because that's just going to create... It's so stupid. It's not a sensible thing to do, but we're farming fish at such a rate with grain that most fish don't have omega-3 in them. So they want to feed it, the original algae, to the fish in the farm ponds, or they want to feed it to, the cow's feed to make the meat better. Well, why not just eat it directly? If I said to you, we can argue about eating a piece of fish, because that's an argument and an enjoyment for some people in themselves, but there is no argument about consuming a capsule. You get a capsule made from omega-3 fish oil, and it's going to have, I don't know, maybe 15, 16% EPA or DHA in it, full of mercury, and something you're going to burp over your friends every time you talk. Or you can have the other capsule that basically has 27% EPA, DHA, slightly less in price, does not deplete the marine ecosystem by 40-odd%. You're not going to argue, because it's just a capsule, but you're going to make a huge difference to the planet, to your health, and on an ethical basis.
Oh, absolutely. And like what's going on in the Gulf right now, I'm sure you're hearing about it a lot in the UK as well, but it's
considering it's a British company, we are.
Yeah. Yes, I guess there's all this uproar about BP having to give us money for it and hurting people's pensions, but what's happening there, and it's destroying like a third of the fish industry for the U.S. I don't know how much it supplies the rest of the world, but it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the seafood industry and the environment there for a long time. And we have it's basically, there are solutions to everything, and unfortunately, everything happens for a reason. As horrific as things can be, it all happens for a reason. And when you look back in your life at some of the worst things that happened in your life, end up being the best. Obviously not when people pass away, but I'm just talking about, a divorce or a breakup or losing your job, or it sends you down another path. So if, for example, it got to a point where the fishermen, really, really couldn't fish again, then the government should help them find an alternate income and a sustainable income, and something that's going to help the planet. It's like people say, oh, well, what would the farmers do if they weren't growing the grain to feed the cattle? Well, they grow the grain to feed us, and they feed 10 of us. So, but they don't look at it like that. They're so trained with tunnel vision that is what they do, that is what they know, and that's how it is. And the government don't think, well, we subsidize,
most of the burgers anyway that come out of the cows. Farmers do not make much money. You don't get, in England anyway, in Europe, you don't get very wealthy farmers. They're having to be subsidised, but of course they're subsidised from the taxpayer. So you're not really getting that burger for $1 or $2. You're paying a way lot more for it, but it's just coming out of your taxes. So it's amazing how veganism literally could save the planet from every single aspect. I mean, it ticks every single box that anyone can imagine.
Yeah, even the United Even the United Nations is now encouraging a vegan diet to help with global warming, and that's saying something.
No, I know. I mean, I announced about 5 years ago the fact that the biggest cause of global warming with a group called Viva in the UK, and I did this whole campaign, hey meaty, you're making me hot, and we put posters everywhere. And everyone said, she's crazy, she's saying it's causing global warming and da-da-da. Well, I wasn't saying it, the scientists were, but nobody was talking about it. So we did a campaign on it. And but these scientists were being, brushed under the carpet. They were being told that their facts were wrong and da-da-da. Finally, the UNFAO basically came out with that document 3 years ago, confirming it. And so now people are going, oh, yeah, actually, it does make sense. The biggest cause of global warming are animals, all animals, because we are just, as far as cattle's concerned, just destroying so much rainforest to grow grain, to send back to feed cattle, instead of using the grain to feed us. There would be no such thing as world starvation if we just ate the grain instead of the cattle eating it. It's all so simple, so simple, but people are not made aware of it, or if they are, they think, oh, well, I don't want to give up my meat. But then they complain when, the weather's changing, when the environment's changing, when tsunamis happen, when icebergs are melting. But, just don't complain about it and accept the consequences, or do something to make a difference, even if you just give up meat and dairy once or twice a week. I mean, without products, V-Bites and Redwood, my whole point is replacing like for like. We've even made it easy for people. If you want to have a burger, have a vegan burger. You want to have a sausage, have a vegan hot dog. Have this, have that. And then eventually your taste buds will change, because it happens to everybody I've done it with. I feed 3,000 families a week in the Bronx in New York for free at the V-Bites Cafe for underprivileged kids. And the obesity rate's gone down, the asthma's gone down, the brain function's gone up. And eventually, the kids that never had a vegetable are now consuming a mass amount of vegetables because they're not hooked on the growth hormones and the antibiotics in chicken and beef. They're eating a vegan beef. And whereas they went from 3/4 of the plate being a vegan meatless meat, now it's only 20% of the plate. So the ultimate thing is that you move away from all meatless meats. That's the ultimate goal, which will be 20 years down the line, and you're really down to pure plant-based food. But you can't take someone from steak to broccoli overnight unless they're ill and they've got a real incentive. And you can't do it with kids, so you put them on meatless meats, they get hooked on them, and then they eventually come off those naturally because their taste buds evolve, everything changes.
I like that you have that option, because it's only been in the last few years that there's been tastier versions of things, and I think it's great for people who really, really don't want to give up meat, but they've decided for health reasons or whatever it is for them that they want to make that transition, and having these faux meats and cheeses is such a great way to do that, and your products for sure. I mean, I've only tasted
it's great. It's great because it makes it, if you've got kids and they're going to a party, they don't feel like some alien that's sitting there with a dried up nut burger. They can have the burgers, and all the kids can have the burgers. They can have the cakes. They can have a childhood where they indulge with their friends, but on a much healthier level. If I do cakes, I do, sugar-free cakes with stevia. I do gluten-free cakes. I do all sorts of things. and the kids don't know. But you know that you're feeding them something healthy, not a load of white sugar and eggs. So it's a great feeling, and it's much, much easier, which brings me on to why I've written this recipe book. It's called Love Bites, because it's just little bites of love for everybody, the animals, the health, the planet, everything. That's the bottom line of, why we're here. And and it's very simple. It's not your posh coffee table book. You can just log in and pre-order on heathermills.org. All the money that comes from it goes to feed more underprivileged kids. And they're simple recipes. It's on a tent with a binder system, and it's wipeable. So when you've got jam and stuff all over your fingers, you're not ruining your coffee table book. It's a proper recipe book. And it's got easy, flippable, wipeable pages that anybody, the most avid or the worst cook on the planet, can follow these recipes. And it's got vegan, it's got Indian, Thai, Mexican, Italian, kormas, tom kha gais, all the things that you go out and you eat and you love, but all the meats are replaced with, vegan beef, vegan chicken, vegan lamb, vegan fish fingers. And then the kids love it as well. And it basically makes it very, very simple. And you can try it out on your friends and not tell them at all that they're eating a vegan meal. And they will always go, oh, that was so good, because it's down to the sauces, the spices. I use lots of turmeric, which is probably one of the best anti-inflammatories you can use. It's like cortisol pharmautically, but obviously a million times better for you because it's natural. If anyone's got any arthritis or any swelling or anything, just tons of turmeric. Also pineapple's good, but turmeric's 10 times more powerful. So I use lots of that in my cooking, and garam masala and cumin and herbs and spices. Never cook them too hot because it changes the taste completely. It's amazing. I learned to cook Indian food in Delhi when I was 17. I went out for my first modeling job, and it was just for fittings and sizes in an Indian family factory. And I stayed with the family and learned to do all the Indian cooking, and just learning about herbs and spices and flavors. Just like if you picked up a piece of raw flesh chicken and bit into it, it wouldn't have any taste. It would just taste of rubber and be disgusting. Well, exactly. Just imagine it. So everyone has to understand it's down to the sauces, it's down at the spices, it's down at the herbs.
Right.
So it's purely the texture that you have to get right. And that's what we've managed to get right. But we've put the herbs and the spices in for people that can't cook very well, and people that are in a rush because we lead busy lives. And just to show people it's very, very easy to make something and not just go to work and grab that high, awful white bread carbohydrate sandwich full of ham and cheese. You don't need to live like that. And then you wonder why you've got no energy. Well, if I kept sticking diesel in your unleaded car, it wouldn't move either.
No, it definitely wouldn't. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the, like, if you could be more specific of what are some of the recipes people can look forward to?
Basically, we do like vegan chicken kormas, tikka masalas. In Thai, we do a tom kha gai. I do traditional soups. I do things where I use soy food, but I also use a pea protein for my cheeses, for pepper jack cheeses, for Stilton we now do, which is a lovely French cheese, blue cheese. It's vegan. So we can do all lasagnas and bologneses and everything with these cheeses, and tons and tons of salads with great variety of dressings. I'm training at the moment for the Paralympics to get on the team. I have my test next Saturday, so I'm very excited for downhill. Yeah, for downhill racing, and if I get in, I'll be the oldest Olympian ever, because when the Olympics happens, I'll be 46. So the vegan diet definitely got me there, put it that way. And so basically there's lots of dishes that give you energy because everyone's just feeling so exhausted. And, it's the daily stresses of life and all sorts of things. But it's very much nutritionally based. You may think you're eating healthily, and for nutrition, but you're not most of the time. You know, it's like a lot of veggies I know who were meat eaters and went veggie because they gave up their meats and fishes. They overdosed on cheese. Well, of course, that's horrific. It's like a terrible diet. So they're basically a very unhealthy veggie. So I've found a lot of veggie friends who have too much dairy and bread and things like that. I've really had to work to get them to change their diet. And,
I used to be a junk food vegetarian because I was 14 when I stopped eating meat, and I literally just gave up meat, and I was still eating Doritos and French fries all the time, and I didn't like tofu.
It's fine to have those, you know, once a week or so. It's fine, you know. I'm very into social eating. I've got a girlfriend who's fabulous, and I would love to be like her, but I never will be. And she literally lives off raw food 24/7. And, you know, I did that when I was ill for a year and a half, but that purity and that raw food, it would be brilliant. But I want to pop down the Indian with my girlfriends. I want to go out and have, you know, something in a Thai restaurant with my friends. I like to do that. I won't do it, you know, I'll do it once or twice a week max, and that's it. And I make sure my really pure food is in the day and cooked at home. But, you know, I'll go and I'll eat there. I'll just make sure they never use any butter or anything. You know, oils. Coconut oil is like the best oil. And I find a lot of Indian restaurants have that because it's a medium chain triglyceride and doesn't do the conversion that olive oils and everything do into a lesser, healthier fat. So, you know, it's very easy. Coconut creams, coconut milks that they can cook with. So you can go in any restaurant, anywhere, even a steakhouse, and get a great vegan meal. You can get like the biggest salads. You might not want to go in a steakhouse for ethical reasons, but if your whole family are not vegan and they're in the steakhouse and you don't want to sit outside in the car picking on your iceberg lettuce, then you know, you might go in and you can basically have a huge salad with them.
Yeah, there's almost always an option now, and I've learned over the years a lot of times, you know, you can ask for like a vegetable plate, even at places if they don't offer it on the menu. So that's a great.
Yeah, but that is so boring. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's like, that's what really upsets me about when you go to restaurants and they say, can I, you know, we can give you a vegetable plate, and what can you give me for starters? Well, we can give you some fruit, and what can we give you for dessert? Well, we can give you some more fruit. And I'm like, I want an apple crumble. I'm out. I want a treat. Can't you do me an apple crumble? And they're like, well, no, because it's not vegan. I said, let me show you in 3 seconds. Have you got any margarine with no dairy? Yes, I have. Have you got any wholemeal flour? Yes, I have. Okay, fine. I'll make you a crumble. Just stick some apples in there. Give me some maple syrup. I'll make up a crumble. So that would be like my treat. Okay, it's not your healthiest, most wonderful thing, but I want to sit and have a nice indulgent dessert if I'm out. I don't want to sit and have fruit after fruit after fruit. You know, I've already had my fruit in the day. I don't want to have tons of fruit at night. I prefer much more having vegetable juices and things anyway because of high fruit sugar levels in fruit. But, you know, if I'm going to have a dessert, I want to have an indulgent dessert.
So have you actually gone into kitchens at restaurants?
Oh, you've no idea. I've gone into the kitchens and everything, shown the chefs. I am the chef's nightmare, but we become best friends because then they ask me for recipes. You know, I worked on a big event with the Farm Sanctuary in New York, and I provided all the food. And I went in and taught their head chef for the main meals and their head chef for all the desserts how to cook vegan and how to do all their recipes, whatever they did normally, vegan style, but with no eggs in any of the cakes or the chocolate eclairs. I did vegan croissants, pain au chocolat, everything that you can possibly want. And it was funny because a lot of chefs have big egos. And when you initially go in, they go, who's this vegan, schmegan, crazy woman? What does she want? And I said, okay, so what can you do for this Farm Sanctuary event? And they put their display on, and it was the usual things that you get in all restaurants, risottos and pastas and things you want to fall asleep hearing again. So I just said, that's okay, fine. But what I was thinking of was vegan chicken wings and some, Tom Kha Gai with vegan chicken in it and some breaded vegan shrimp and this. And they're like, what? So I cooked my thing and he said, okay, let me taste it. And he tasted mine. And then he just pushed all his to one side and said, okay, now I get it. This is not what I thought vegan was. But I wanted to feed people exactly what they'd normally get, but the vegan version, to change and challenge people's perception of veganism. And so from then on, I started showing some chefs at the Peninsula, and this was the Cipriani group, and they were surprised, and as they are anywhere in the world. And if I go on holiday, I went to a great place in Mauritius called Beau Rivage, and the chef was very open-minded, fabulous person. And I literally planned with him, I was vegan, I was coming. It was probably the first chef I didn't have to bother going through anything with. I got there, he had 5 courses written up. You could have a full indulgence vegan cooked breakfast, or you could have, homemade muesli, or you could have just, different fruits but done in different ways, and smoothies and shakes. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And I had about 5 people with me, not all of them vegan, and they absolutely loved eating there. So it's much, much simpler than anybody thinks.
Oh, it is, and it's friends of mine who are meat eaters. Whenever they taste my food and they ask me, like, how did you make this, they're always blown away that I'm all about keeping my recipes really simple and easy to do, because I'm, a very busy woman, not as busy as you, but I'm a busy woman, and I want...
I'm sure you are. Everyone's busy in their own way.
That's true. Well, I'm not
and
a mom
quick
yet.
And easy is everything. You can get just as much nutrition, but it's got to be quick and easy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not a mom yet, so that adds a whole other level of busyness.
That's like, I said the restaurant was the hardest thing to do, but being a mom is the hardest, but it's more rewarding. Eventually the restaurant is well, seeing people eat and everything's great, but obviously being a mom is amazing. But I think all stay-at-home men or women should get a wage from their partners, because a man or a woman goes to work and the man or the woman stays at home and looks after the kids. That's not looked at as a job, even though, but then when they split up, there's suddenly a charity case to be sorted out. So I think that anybody that takes the time out to do an amazing job as a mother or a father, stay at home, they should literally get a wage from their partner immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's an undervalued, incredible role that parents play, especially those parents that stay at home. And I know a lot of stay-at-home husbands, which is why I'm including both.
Oh, that's great.
That do amazing jobs. Really amazing.
That's good to hear. I think I know one stay-at-home dad out of all my friends.
No, I know 5.
Oh, wow.
I know 5 because the world is realizing that women can multitask, and they're also, if the world was run by women or men that love women and don't resent them, then it would be quite an amazing place.
Oh,
it is essentially Mother Earth.
Yes, absolutely. So now that we're on the topic of being a parent, I'd love to know what you recommend for parents out there who are trying to get their children to eat healthier and hopefully a plant-based diet, because that's a question I come across all the time. Like, my kids won't eat vegetables. So what is your take on it, and how do you do it?
Well, it's actually hard at first, so make it easy for yourself. Write a list of their favorite things. Find the exact vegan replacement. If they are junk food kids and you just couldn't stand the I want anymore, and you just gave up and said, right, okay, you can go to McDonald's, we'll get the toy, and the pressure that parents are under, don't beat yourself up about what you've done, but make the next step just one day at a time and do your research and basically replace like for like. So if your kids in the morning are having high sugar Cocoa Pops, blah, 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 find the healthy alternate, basically like a vegan chocolate stars, which would be a rice-based, much healthier version, organic than, the junk cereal. And then just start putting bits of it in, 75-25, 50-50, and then eventually start changing it over. And they will get used to the taste over a period of time. If you're then, I do, for example, I do vegan pancakes for my daughter. I mix rice milk or soy milk or almond milk or quinoa milk or oat milk or whatever milk you like. Don't forget, there's 9 different milks. It's not all cow's milk. Try and mix that with some wholemeal flour and make them pancakes in the morning and pour some maple syrup on just to get them off. And you can mix so much up in pancakes. You can blend up things like really grind up powdered flaxseed, hemp, things that they're not going to go, oh, that's disgusting, that you'd give them in their raw form. And you start by putting things in and hiding it and being, cheeky with where you're putting things into their usual foods, ground up. And what happens is internally things will change for them. Their cravings for things will change because they're getting the real nutrition. The problem parents are having is trying to get that complete nutrition in them. So ultimately, they will want to eat a healthier way. That the first thing our tongue does when it eats something is crave the taste of sugar. That is what the taste buds do. That is what they respond to, sweetness, sugar. So if you can replace a sugar with a healthier sugar and slowly start reducing on that, then you'll find you're tricking the brain and you're tricking the taste buds, and eventually the whole saliva, the whole taste, the metabolism, everything changes. So if it comes to lunchtime and they're used to going to McDonald's, then you basically do them an identical thing to McDonald's, which is very easy because it's, the cheese is like cardboard. Then you can get vegan slices, and you can put loads of tomato ketchup in, and you can hide it initially, but then you start to wean it down over the weeks and months, and they get used to it. You can make great shakes. I replicated the entire range of McDonald's and tested it on people, and nobody could tell the difference. But I made the shakes nutritionally complete, which meant that if you were, my dream is to have V-Bites places everywhere, which have fast food and a pure health range. And basically it means that as a parent you can be guilt-free when you've got 5 kids in the back of the car screaming and shouting in your people carrier going, I want somebody to eat, and then you drive through and you just hand them these shakes and they are completely nutritionally complete. But they think it's a chocolate milkshake or a strawberry milkshake. But you know that it's got all the vitamin Bs, the omegas, all the minerals, everything you need is in that shake, but it tastes amazing. And if more fast food joints thought like that, well, we'd live in a different planet.
Yes, we would. Well, there's a change happening, thank goodness.
There is.
Yes, and I know it's...
Because there has to be. We're just becoming sicker and sicker. If the government of America focused more on nutrition, which we've been pushing through many places. I'm on the board of the New York Coalition for Healthy School Foods. Now, I suggest that people go on their website and look at what they're doing there. They're going in and feeding schools healthy vegan foods, and the kids are loving it. It's literally changing them. The project I've got where I feed all the families in the Bronx is through the Hunts Point Alliance for Children, HPAC, and they're having a huge response, and the kids are loving it. Some of the kids live in crack houses. Their parents can't always get themselves together to even cook the child anything. But with the foods that we do and with vegan foods, you can literally eat them cold out the packet, unlike a piece of, chicken flesh. So it's just totally the way forward is to move more and more as possible to a vegan diet. If you can't do it for yourself, try and do it for your kids. People owe them that at least.
Yeah.
I had a horrible time once when I was sitting next to a friend of mine's. Let me just turn this off. My friend's ringing. I was sitting next to a friend of mine's child, and she was literally only about 9 months old, and she was feeding her a vegan croissant. And I was like, oh, my God, the child is 9 months old. It has no clue. You don't need to introduce anything sweet to a child. The longer you do not introduce anything sweet, even fruit, to a child, the better you are setting up its colon, its whole system, and the less you are having the chance to give it diabetes, type 1 onset diabetes.
Yeah.
And I knew that this child was going to be diabetic one day. I just knew it. And sadly, she became diabetic, and she's dependent on insulin for the rest of her life. What most people don't understand is that you can reverse type 2 diabetes in 2 months on a healthy, pure vegan diet. It's absolutely possible to reverse it. And I suggest anyone with type 2 goes to Dr. Joel Furman's website or looks up, anybody that understands the reversing of it and gets on that diet, because you can eventually move to type 1. And once you're on type 1, you will be on insulin the rest of your life. But there is hope even for that, because if you have a really healthy, pure diet, we found that you can start minimizing the insulin because you don't need to inject and your body doesn't use up as much when you're having a more balanced, pure diet. Then the fifth part of that is you don't lose limbs later, because I obviously counsel and have done thousands of people who've lost limbs due to cancer, diabetes, accidents, landmines. And if you look after yourselves, there's no reason why you ever have to lose your limbs to diabetes. So everything keeps reverting back to a healthy vegan diet. Whatever level you're at, however far gone your health has gone, you can reverse, slow down, or prevent illnesses and prevent the need for high-cost medicine in America. And that brings me back to why the government really need to do more to ban, these vending machines that serve kids junk at school. It should be illegal, to get on with making the next generation really healthy and making it easy for them to be healthy. And, it means that it will take a huge burden off people's expenses. Too much money goes into cures, cancer cures, this cures, that cures. We know what it can be done, and it's all about prevention. Okay, 5% is on a genetically predisposed level, but the rest of it is about prevention.
And I hear this a lot, and I know since the medical system is different in the UK, but here, people say, oh, well, eating healthier is so expensive. I'm like, well, think about your medical bills. How much are you spending in medical bills every month or every year? How many days of work are you missing because of these food-related, food-caused illnesses? And of course,
absolutely. But even without that, if you actually look at what healthy food costs compared to junk, unless you are eating at a fast food restaurant every single day, it's harder to compare the prices. But the same person may be smoking, they may be drinking alcohol, they may be doing all sorts of stuff that is very unhealthy for them. And believe me, everyone of every earning capacity, and I can say this because I've been in the lowest earning capacity that there is. I've been homeless, I've done all those things. I've been on every level of every imaginable earning level. There is always waste on every level. If you're very honest about it, there is always waste. There is always piling up on credit cards for things you do not need. But will you pile up on that credit card for things you do need, for what you're fueling your body with, for what's going to make you feel better, what's going to give you more energy, what's going to give you more motivation to go out and, say, get that job? or improve your career. You need the energy to do so. You need to be the inspiration in the office, to move up on the ladder. It just keeps coming back to the same thing. You are what you eat.
Yeah, absolutely. We only have a couple more minutes, so I'd love for you to give out any last information you want to tell my listeners, like how to find your products, your website, and so forth, so people...
Well, basically, if anyone has a Whole Foods near them, just go in and say that you really like the Heather Mills' V-Bites products. They're cheesely. We do lots of other things. I'm just launching a vegan pizza, because 1 in 10 of every American orders pizza without cheese, which a lot of Whole Foods, basically supermarkets don't know. And it can be ranged from being vegan to lactose intolerance to not liking the taste of the cheese to a million things, but 1 in every 10 is quite amazing. So we're going to do a vegan cheese pizza, and we've got pepper jack and soy-free, melting, this, that, the other. And you can go on to my website if you want to pre-order the Love Bites recipe book, which is heathermills.org. There are links from that to all of my companies. And all of my companies basically try to make a difference and try to give back on a massive scale and try to educate people to look after themselves, because that's why we're here, to look after oneself and look after everyone around us for the finite amount of seconds we have here. Otherwise, you come, you go, you've left no legacy, you've made no difference, because you're so absorbed in doing something for yourself. When you get out of your own space and your own head, you literally go out and do something for other people, and it comes back in leaps and bounds, but never expected to. But it really, really does make such a massive difference. And just spread the word, but do it by cooking and feeding people, because they're ready to listen, and be gentle on people that don't understand. Because when you get very educated in a field, and it can be any field, you can forget where you were once.
Yeah.
In your case, 25 years ago. In my case, 17. We were all once that person that did not understand veganism. We were all there. Yeah. So there's no hierarchy in it. It's just, if somebody knows more about some subject than I do, I want to bleed them dry of any information. I'll never be embarrassed to say, well, what do you mean by that? Question everything. And then you learn everything.
Thank you. Wow, that was a great way to end the show. I really appreciate it.
Great. Well, it was really nice speaking with you.
Definitely.
And stay in touch.
Looking forward to the cookbook.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll definitely have to do this
you
again.
Take care.
Thanks, you too, Heather.
Okay, it'll be lovely.
Okay, bye.
Have a great summer. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye. So thanks, Heather Mills, for coming on today. That was definitely inspiring, and I hope everyone listening got something from it. And for me, the interview ended up being just as much about making a difference and how you can help your community and help the plant, along with the ideas of a plant-based diet and how you can help your health. So thank you so much, Heather, for doing that, having this interview with me today. I know how busy you are. If any of you listening, and again, I know I said this at the beginning, but any of you listening would like support in changing your diet or have any food-caused illnesses, I would be more than happy to help you and support you in getting healthier. I do offer phone consults for people who don't live in L.A., so, and for those of you in L.A., I'm in Santa Monica. My office number to schedule an appointment is 310-259-5165. That's 310-259-5165. And I look forward to getting your questions. That's it. You can do that at info@livenaturallivewell.com. And who am I having on next week? Oh, my goodness, I don't even know. Isn't that sad? It's been so busy. I'm forgetting who I'm having on. Next week at 10 a.m., I will be having on the creators of Organicville. It's an organic food line, so definitely take a listen. And take care, and take care of those around you. Have a great day. Thanks.